So before we get into it, here is the contraption that I'll explain later on. We've got a breadboard. We've got an ESP32 dev board with pins attached. I'm not going to solder anything. My soldering skills are terrible. We've got an 8x8 LED matrix. So 8 rows of 8 columns of LEDs. We've got a GPS module. And we've got 2 light sensors. There's one on the indicator here. Look how fashionable that is. And we've got one on the indicator here. All powered by that battery pack for now. Having a look at our competitors in this fictitious business model that we seem to be building, we've got 4 main options. We've got high-end self-cancelling solutions by manufacturers such as BMW and Honda. These are only available on certain models, and they have been known to cancel prematurely. We've got a medium-cost aftermarket solution for automatically cancelling your indicators as well. But it is a bit of a faff to fit, and again, it does have its limitations as it needs to fit a variety of bikes and a variety of situations. We had an indicator alerter that came out in 2023, which I have to admit does look very easy to install, but it does come with a cost. I think it's over-engineered in certain ways, such as having to connect your Bluetooth intercom, and under-engineered in other ways. And finally, you've got the generic £20 jobby. You connect to your wiring loom, and it makes a noise when your indicators are on. That's enough of me. Let's build the thing. That little board in the middle, the ESP32, is where I load all of the code onto. You can see it's responsible for all of the inputs and outputs, everything talks to it. On the left hand side, you've got the light sensors, power, ground, and a signal. On the right hand side, you've got the matrix, got the thing it outputs to tell me whether my indicators are on or not, or whether I've left them on too long. And the bottom left hand corner looks a bit dodgy in the diagram, but that's the GPS sensor connecting to the ESP32 as well, with ground and power and various other signals to send the data. Moving to that flow diagram on the right, you can see my code takes a variety of inputs. It processes them, makes a decision, and that decision is, should I display a light or should I display a flashing light on that matrix? So to throw a little scenario in this, I've used the light sensor to determine that the left indicator is on. I've used my code to determine that the indicator has been on for over 5 seconds. I've used the GPS sensor to determine that the speed is over 10 miles an hour. And I've used my code to determine that it is over the threshold of 8 miles an hour and has been for over 5 seconds. Therefore, in that final red box decision, I would show a flashing warning light. If the conditions changed, for example, I slowed down, the decision would probably change. It would fall into that no scenario, and I would no longer display a warning light. I'd just show a pretty informative arrow on the matrix. Let's show it in action. Over 20 miles an hour, the right indicator's on, and it has been for over 5 seconds. We no longer alert because the decision has changed, and it just shows that pretty arrow. The left indicator's on, but we're stationary, so no alert. Speeding up over 8 miles an hour. And there we go. The alert is visible and will be until we turn off the indicator or we slow down below 8 miles an hour.
Here it makes the decision to alert, and then we slow down and it immediately stops alerting. This is quite a cool test. We've turned left and the alert has then come on. We've pulled over and the alert has turned off. To summarize, I went for light sensors as a no-cut solution to detect the indicator being on. But very easily, I could have used a hall sensor wrapped around the indicator wire to detect the current. The LED matrix could have very easily been a screen or a buzzer. The GPS module took a surprisingly long amount of time to connect every time this device was booted up. I think I could do with tweaking all of the thresholds further in the code. From a continual detection of the indicator as it flashes, it's not a continual light. The 5-second threshold really wants to be bumped up to 15 or 20 seconds. I think the speed threshold works completely fine in my testing. Feel free to pause this. I priced up all the components I used on AliExpress and it came to about £20. Going further, I could solder all the components together and try to make them waterproof. As mentioned, I'd probably change the light sensors for hall sensors, and I'd probably give the code a couple more iterations to detect the nuances between accelerating and decelerating. And we've got to the end. Please subscribe, follow, do whatever else YouTube requires you to do. That would be great. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching.
Code and Corners, Code and Corners, Code and Corners.